Hi, my name is Lena Scherman, and I would like to welcome you all to this talk show at World Water Week about wastewater's contribution to decarbonization. We have, as a humanity, problem with waste and wastewater, and that is ultimately a carbon problem. How this fits together is the question for this talk show, and you will be hearing about some ways to solve these problems. I would like to introduce to you our panelist, Orianna Bretschger, Chief Executive Officer at Aquacycle, Will Sarni, founder and CEO at Water Foundry, and Carolina Garcia, Global Sustainability and Innovation Director at AbInBev. Did I pronounce it right? I hope. We have also, for the online audience, I should say, there is a person that is moderating questions and answering those questions for you online. Orianna, I start with you. Most discussions about decarbonization don't include water and wastewater. What's the connection between wastewater and greenhouse gas emissions?
Well, there is a very big connection. So in wastewater, you have carbon contained in the water, right? And our goal to reuse the water is to remove all of that carbon and other nutrients, ideally recover them for useful application. But in the process of treating wastewater now in our central infrastructure, it requires a lot of energy to remove that waste from the water. And especially aerobic technologies, where the whole goal is to pump oxygen into the water, grow up this biomass eats the waste, and then out it goes. But that action of pumping air into water creates a lot of emissions because most of the energy grid is still not sustainably powered. And so the same amount of carbon that is in the water can then be ultimately released in different parts of the treatment process as greenhouse gas emissions. We only treat 20% of our total global volume of wastewater that we generate. So that means that 80% of our agriculture, industrial, and sewage is released to the environment with minimal or no treatment. But that 20% that we do treat with existing infrastructure actually generates as much greenhouse gas as the entire shipping industry.
That's a lot. You answered most of my next question to you, William, and it's a leading question. And what would you say is, why is it urgent to do these connections?
Well, I think we've often, routinely neglect the connection between water, energy, and climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. So really thinking about these issues as a nexus solution on a system-wide basis is absolutely critical. So we've got, I talk about wicked problems all the time. Water's a wicked problem. Climate change is a wicked problem. And how do we think about the connectivity between these issues so we can have a bigger impact instead of really dealing with these issues in silos, our favorite issue of the day, and really think about it in an integrated way. And I believe there is just great investment opportunities for technologies that solve nexus challenges.
Are companies doing this? Are they going into this? Or?
On the corporate side or
Yeah.
on the leading companies are, certainly. So, the corporate sector, I would say, over the past couple of decades has done well in addressing water issues and climate issues. And now what we're seeing is really the integration of these issues, stacking value, if you will. If they make an investment in water, they're now quantifying the benefit to energy and reducing carbon emissions. So that's really a leading practice right now. And, Orianna touched on the value proposition associated with that.
Carolina, what innovation are you seeking to improve? Are you seeking to improve carbon?
Thank you for your question. And going back to the question you just asked, Will, AbInBev is the leading brewer in the world, and we are very proud to think that we're also leading in this nexus. So for us, water and climate action are two key pillars of the company, right? And we know that if we're going to reach our zero net emissions ambition by 2040 and our roadmap to reach 1 liter of water per liter of beer, we need to make that connection. And actually we have. We did a really interesting study where we realized that in the operations efficiency, 70% of the activities of water reduction are linked also with energy reduction. So we know that the less water that we use, the more energy that we are saving, which means that in our dream, of course, we want to be a company that reuses all of its effluent, right? And this requires us to do many innovations in reducing the water, but also treating the water. And actually, we believe that with startups such as Aquacycle, we can actually attain this. And through our program of open innovation, the 100 Plus Accelerator, we're piloting innovative technologies like Aquacycle that is currently piloting with us, and we're very excited about that.
What are the challenges, would you say?
Many, many, of course.
Yeah.
For example, as Orianna was just mentioning in her question, the amount of energy, for example, that we use in traditional systems such as aeration, that requires a lot of energy to treat wastewater. But for us, treating our effluent is of utmost importance. That's why the big challenge is seeking the right innovation that will help us reduce our water consumption, treat our effluent, and of course, reduce our carbon emissions.
So, Orianna, what are you doing? What is Aquacycle do?
I ask myself that every day. Well, so we have the pleasure of working with AbInBev as well as Will in really validating the technology and its business case in breweries, both in the smaller craft brews, but also potentially in their larger breweries as well. So our technology utilizes naturally existing bacteria that we bring into our reactors, which are about the size of a car battery. And what our reactors do is creates an environment to select for bacteria that have a capacity to generate electricity at the same time that they're consuming the waste out of the water. So we are developing an energy neutral approach for wastewater treatment, and not just your average wastewater. Some of the really tough stuff that it's typically trucked off-site and landfilled, or if it's allowed to go to the sewer, can create a lot of cost for that municipality to manage. And so what we're doing with ABI is at one of their craft breweries in Oregon. We've been operating now for several months and showing great KPIs, both in terms of treatment quality, but also in terms of mitigating energy consumption at the same time. So it only takes 60 kilowatt hours a day to run one of our plants. For the amount of carbon that we take out of the water, if it were to go down the sewer, right, and go to a conventional process, it would take 2,500 kilowatt hours a day to take that process and treat the same amount of carbon.
So, William, what's in it for you to invest in things like this?
The short answer is money, a return on investment. But
Yeah.
no, it's way more than that. Look, I spent my entire career focused on addressing water challenges and doing my part to solve them. So what Aquacycle is doing through their technology and also innovation and business model. So, water treatment as a service has gained a lot of traction over the past several years. So think about innovation in technology, but also think about innovation in business model, which makes it easier for a company like AbInBev to partner with a company like Aquacycle. So what's in it for me, what's in it for my partners is certainly placing the right bet on technology that will solve not just water issues, but energy and carbon emissions. And that integrated value proposition is incredibly powerful and very appealing to the industrial sector, but also the public sector and utilities. So it's having an impact and a financial return. And it's not one or the other, it's really both coupled very nicely.
So, Carolina, is it possible to say what new innovation do you need? What kind of innovation do we need?
As we have reiterated, I think the big innovation is how do we reduce the energy consumption to make the water treatment more efficient, which is exactly what we're doing with Aquacycle, but also innovation on the financing model, like water as a service has been a game changer in the way that that we see this. So I think there's a big innovation there as well. And also, we need to continue and strengthen the innovation ecosystem around water. And I think in this talk show, you have a very nice 360 approach, because on the one hand, you have the innovators such as Aquacycle, the investors that are helping these companies to be well capitalized, and a company like AbInBev that actually can test these technologies and can become the off-taker. And imagine, we have over 200 breweries across the world that if a technology like Aquacycle is successful, which we believe it's going to be, and we're very happy and excited to see their growth, imagine the potential, and we can also be that beacon of innovation hand in hand.
So this is the upscaling of it. Your company is the upscaling of
Correct.
it. Oh.
I think that's really inspiring about the power of the private sector, the power of being transformational, because we have the scale to actually bring these technologies.
William, would you say, is it essential to get the corporate business together with innovations like the Aquacycles?
Absolutely. It's a tremendous opportunity in the marketplace. One of the things that we've been speaking about this week at the event at World Water Week is building catalytic communities. So the role of the private sector in being that catalyst is just this tremendous opportunity. And what we're seeing is that through initiatives like the 100+ Accelerator Program, startups, you're still a startup?
Yeah.
Like a 20-year startup or whatever it may be.
Not yet,
But, so bringing entrepreneurs, innovative technologies, innovative business models directly into the corporate world creates speed and the ability to scale. And, that's just sort of the sweet spot in really coming up with technology solutions and business model innovation. So I see that partnership as being really key to ensuring Orianna and the team are successful, and that AbInBev is successful, and society at large, can solve some of these really challenging climate and water issues.
So, Orianna, what is your vision for Aquacycle?
Yeah, well, we're excited. I mean, this is early stage for us, but it's amazing to be able to partner with an organization like AbInBev and the 100+ Accelerator to have the exposure not only to understand what the customer needs and how we can develop a technology to address that, but also, understanding that there is a business case ahead of the trial, right? So there is a return on our investment as well in this partnership. And we were able to scale a lot faster in the industrial sector than we are in the public sector right now. We hope our vision ultimately, right, is to scale with our industrial partners, continue on and demonstrating, 100 tons of greenhouse gas emissions mitigated every month from our equipment, sewer charges reduced by 30% or more every single month with our equipment. But then as we grow, we can scale down the cost of manufacturing for our systems and ultimately address in sanitation, which is where we started. That's where our heart is. Our mission is sanitation for all. And these same systems that we're deploying for our industrial clients, we can scale up or down for Sanitation Solutions with the opportunity to work without a sewer grid and without an energy grid, providing safe and reliable sanitation for areas that really need it most. And so we love to understand the challenges of industry and support industry in their growth, but also into their, social goals. And so we look forward to exploring those partnerships in the future as well.
William, is there one insight you would like people to take away from this discussion? And a special message you would have?
There's probably several. But,
take them all.
One of the things that I get really excited about is innovation and partnerships. And really, that's what you're seeing right now, which is, the accelerator program, bringing Aquacycle into that, and then having the ability to scale at speed. And Orianna touched on this, also how the private sector industrial users are working with utilities and public agencies. So again, this is sort of the gateway into, the utility world, the public sector. So think creatively about partnerships and business models and technology, because that's how we're really going to solve, climate and water-related issues.
Carolina, do you have one?
Perhaps to one, I echo just Will's answer, because we definitely need partnerships and to work collectively towards these very complex problems. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with the 100 Plus Accelerator, along with our corporate partners. So if Aquacycle's technology is successful, our other corporate partners, Unilever, the Coca-Cola company, Colgate-Palmolive, can also use this technology, but also the potential of Aquacycle partnering with the other innovators within our network. And we're already starting to see that, and that's very inspiring. And my second message is the importance, and being in a water conference, that we don't act in silos. I think throughout this discussion, we have seen the interdependence of water and carbon, and then also, if we go beyond and above, nature as well. So we need to see the interdependence and stop acting in silos, because that has created a lot of inertia during the past years.
Is there an answer to that? How do we do it? Or how do we stop being inside our silos?
Well, exactly what we're doing here, right? We're not seeing Aquacycle's technology or wastewater just from the water lens, right? We're seeing all the other benefits like energy reduction, but also the fact that if you treat your effluent and then your discharge is in perfect conditions, you're also not impacting nature, right? So you're starting to see this in a more holistic approach, whereas sometimes we are tackling these projects just with one lens. So it's an invitation. I think it has been also one of the key topics we've been discussing for the last couple of years. And if we are to be effective, we need to see the holistic picture.
Orianna, do you have one insight you would like to share with us?
I think, to echo what Will and Carolina said, we can't silo. But I think one of the ways that we can be better as a climate community is to stop thinking that climate is carbon, right? It's not just carbon, it's water. It is a holistic system. And when we talk about climate change, we can't just put it in the context of carbon. We have to put it in the context of biodiversity, in the context of water, and in the context of how we as a global organization can work together, not-for-profits, for-profits, private sector, public sector, NGOs, right? We all have a role to play. But it starts really with communication, collaboration, and really understanding it's all connected. And so it's important to treat it as a connected system.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a good last words. And let's all walk out of our silos here and go out and speak to others as well on any topics. Now we thank our audience online and give you a big applause.